Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to whoever it is in the world. You are streaming here on Twitter as well as those of you on YouTube. What's good, people? Wednesday, March 25th, 3:18 p.m. Pacific time. 12-game slate in the association this evening. We should have a busy show for you ahead, the first time in a long time. Hope everyone's having a good day out there. It is an overcast, low 70s day here at the beach. Not all is lost as they are currently filming the remake of Baywatch nearby. Things could be worse. What's happening? Allow people an opportunity to join the chat today. We should remain busy with plenty of options abound. We don't have a league piss menu or a league ass menu today. Some worthy games on the slate, including the Thunder and the Celtics, which is your main event of the evening. Let me make sure I'm on the right. Okay. Main event. This game is not on ESPN. And for those of you wondering why, it is because ESPN has actually maximized the number of times that they are permitted to show Oklahoma City in a single season. So they can only flex into a team. There's a cap on how many times one team can air on a network, and Oklahoma City has reached that mark. So that is why we have Hawks, Pistons instead of Celtics, Thunder tonight, which is going to be a battle of two of the best teams, championship contenders in the NBA. Lou Dort versus Jason Tatum, by the way. You can sense the simmering you can smell a simmering volcano. If Lou Dort ends up barreling into Jason Tatum tonight at some point, you gotta think there's gonna be a bit of an altercation. What's up? Helwick says, I needed the stream to pass time at the worst airport in America, MCO. That would be Orlando, if I'm not mistaken, which has security. Okay, so their security line is like a rotunda. It's this big circle room where people, there's usually no like ropes or lanes. It's just a mass of people in the middle of some room with windows as a ceiling. And it is surrounded by restaurants and whatnot. I've been through that airport many times. Can't say that that's an airport I look forward to passing through often. Best airport in America, major airports, because the little ones are always the easiest. Like here in LA, we have Burbank, Bob Hope Airport. Take you 5 minutes to get to the gate versus LAX. But I mean, those are like completely different businesses. Major airports, I would say Charlotte and Indianapolis are 1, 2, and everything else after it. I enjoy the Portland airport because it's gorgeous. But in terms of efficiency, things to do, Charlotte, Indianapolis are on my list. Hopefully you're not waiting in one of those 5-hour lines like we've seen in Houston and New Orleans. MCC's in the chat. What's up, Romo? Good to see you, Danny. Hawks or Pistons, he's asking. Jalen Johnson is upgraded. Jalen Johnson could go tonight. And it is a 2-point spread for a reason. The Hawks are cooking. They have a chance at really locking down the Southeast Division with Orlando losing. Miami's on a bit of a losing streak as well. Only area of concern would be their size against that Detroit front line. But you know what? I will take the Hawks tonight. How many times can Danis Jenkins, is it Danis Jenkins or Danis Jenkins? Because one of the Pistons broadcasters, George Blaha, says Danis Jenkins, and the other guy is Danis. George, what's his name? I forgot. Not Kessler? Pistons fan will have to remind me. I don't know if it's Danis or Danis, so I always feel like I'm picking the wrong one. It's like Rajon Rondo versus Rajon Rondo. I'm still to this day don't know which one. Anyway, how many times can that man seamlessly replace Cade Cunningham's production and efficiency? This feels like the night that it regresses back down to earth a bit. Oh, yes. Stop it, Sims. What's happening? Says Wobbert that Adam Silver press conference had a little extra sauce on it today. Yes, it did. He is fed up with, first of all, tanking. So let's discuss, in case you missed the press conference earlier, there was an announcement that there's going to be a special Board of Governors meeting coming up here in the near future. That Board of Governors meeting is going to propose and hopefully pass some drastic, severe anti-tanking measures that could take effect as soon as the draft. I mean, we're 3 months away from the draft. And he said, this will be fixed, full stop. It is of the utmost priority to protect the integrity of the game. So I'm curious what can actually be done, though, people, because there are picks out there in the universe that still have protections attached to them. So you can't just wipe protections completely starting right now. Then what was the point of us making that trade? Why on earth would the Pacers have traded that pick for Ivica Zubac if it didn't have heavy protections? Like that would change everything. And it's unfair to all 30 teams. So that can't happen. But at least we know that something's being done about it because it is out of control. Tanking is nothing new, but it's always been something that exists that the NBA is willing to put up with because it occurs at the end of the season, usually around this time where teams start losing and people are watching March Madness anyway. This shit started this season in January. It started when Lauri Markkanen missed back-to-back games in the middle of January. And the whole world realized, whether he's sick or not, the tanking process has begun. It started too early. We reached a breaking point. Enough is enough. And now the NBA is making an example of teams and planting their flag, saying, this is a major issue, red alert. It also does a really good job distracting us from some other issues, like the 65 game rule, like what's going on with Kawhi Leonard and his investigation. So there's that. Also, Adam Silver was speaking on the vote from today's Board of Governors to move forward with the exploration. This is like, it's very easy to get lost in the headlines here with hearsay. The NBA has not approved expansion yet. And part of me thinks there's the slightest of chances it doesn't go through on the first motion. 30 NBA governors right now, 23 of them are required to approve expansion, which means if there are 8 governors that say, you know what, we don't want to go to Seattle and Las Vegas, then the motion is denied. And it could be denied for a multitude of reasons, the first of which is they didn't get a big enough number for the franchises. Why do the owners care about the number? Because 1, it sets precedent for valuation. 2, the amount that is paid by these new ownership groups to become part of the club gets split up between all 30 owners. And if they sell these franchises for an average of $8-ish billion, we're looking at a $533 million upfront payment for the NBA governors. To us mere mortals, that's a shit ton of money. But to a Steve Ballmer, to the Allen estate with Microsoft, and they don't care about $533 million. They may prioritize having more powerful voting shares, which you have when you're 1 out of 30 on a board versus 1 out of 32, because that's what you are opening up. All of a sudden, your vote is worth less. Future basketball-related income, BRI, is split up 32 ways instead of 30. So those residual checks and things that you get in the future is going to be diluted unless the NBA continues to capitalize on all of its investments, income, and growing the brand and the business. There are plenty of reasons for owners to say no. Also, a team may not want to see the Minnesota Timberwolves go to the Eastern Conference. Nope. Make it Memphis. Make it New Orleans. I'm voting no. So while it will eventually get passed, I think it is not far. I would not be shocked if the first motion was denied. So it is not a formality. It is not a guarantee. Today was simply an exploration of prospecting investors, arenas, cities, facilities, ownership groups with their executive staffs, things like that. That's all that was done today. Helwick says the Nuggets' late game execution is so bad. It was perfect 2 years ago. They almost lost because they did hack-a-shack with 2:42 left, up 7. Oh, they did it on Iguodala, who is a sub 50% free throw shooter. And I don't mind that at all, Helwick, because you only have 42 seconds to foul Iguodala. And he did make his free throws last night, and they almost did come back. So the result was almost a failure, but the process is fine because we see Joe Mazzulla do that with Mitchell Robinson and the New York Knicks to get some of the better defenders off of the floor. Sometimes you need to foul them intentionally. Oh, Joel Embiid is a GOAT tonight, officially. News just dropped here. Joel Embiid a go for the 76ers in their duel against the Chicago Bulls. Can't wait for that one, let me tell you. Nikola Jokic hits the game winner. They still have Jamal and Jokic out there doing their thing. If I would trust any duo in the NBA to close out a game, they're probably going to be number one. Murray and Jokic with the high pick and roll. Can you guys name me another duo? Brunson and Cat? Like who? Something with Joel Embiid? Tatum and Brown? What duo? Because Tatum and Brown don't really play off of each other. They're great individual creators, but I just don't see them on one side of the floor working together as much as Murray and Jokic. There's such cohesion and basketball telepathy with those two that they can pass a ball knowing without even looking where they're going to be. Jamal Murray's a tough shot maker. Jokic is best player in the world. Despite the Denver Nuggets regressing a little bit with their defense and in those non-Jokic minutes, I still think they're going to be a tough out 4 out of 7 times, considering their talent and experience. The problem is during the regular season, they just got hit with another one of those nationally televised back-to-backs where they're going to go from time zone east. If I'm not mistaken, Arizona is technically the Pacific time zone now that we've hit daylight savings time. So they go from Arizona with the latest start time possible, which is an 8 p.m. tip-off, which really means 8:15. They won't get back home in the mountain time zone, Denver, until 5 a.m., and then they got to play on a back-to-back the same way that they did in Memphis, where they had to travel east. And LeBron and Luka, do we feel as confident about LeBron in 2026 playing off of Luka? LeBron has really embraced being the third wheel. You heard him in his post-game interview after the loss the other night. It was a formidable effort, and the Lakers should be holding their heads high after that winning streak. But LeBron is just sitting in the locker room saying, man, I know what my role is on this team, and I'm going to go out there and do it. It's not that he's not capable of having high usage anymore, but with Luka and Reeves, we know where the Lakers are headed in the future. So LeBron is sometimes a gargoyle on the opposite side of the floor being Mr. Catch and Shoot. LeBron freaking James. I can't say that LeBron and Luka as a dynamic duo is anything more than just individual heroism and star power. I trust Murray and Jokic to work together as a collaboration. It is mutualism. What's up, Coach Mike? Nas Reed towels for sale at the Timberwolves store. I need one of those Iowa Wolves. They came out with fanny pack hats. Did you guys see that? Fanny pack hats with a zipper on the front. It says Wolves. Oh, those look so fucking cool. Oh, news just dropped on the official starting lineup for the Pacers. Nembhard, Siakam. Lakers fans, your conspiracy theories are proved true once again. 8.5-point favorites. Well, Siakam, Nembhard, everyone's playing tonight for the Pacers. No tanking tonight when the Lakers are in town. Wow, I lost all my money betting the Heat +4 the other night. Yeah, I lost a chunk as well. Got the Pelicans last night, thankfully. But yeah, the Heat, unfortunately, that game against I had them against the Lakers at home too. Back-to-back games, I bet the Heat pretty big. And L's. Dagnall loves Shea, J-Dub pick and rolls to close games, but, I mean, come on. That team is – Shea's going to be on an island. You can send a double team, and he's just so good it doesn't even matter. What's up, M. Dalla? Do I have an MVP vote? Oh, we took your call earlier. Oh, on Sirius. Thanks for calling in. I do not have an official vote. I will tell you who I think should win, but I do not have an NBA ballot. Justin Termini does, I believe, in the show after us. Maybe Frank Isola might have one in the morning too. Maybe. There's a good question. Should the 1 seed get to pick their playoff opponent? No. I mean, that would throw the rest of the standings into complete. How would you do the play-in tournament then? Not a bad question. I need to hear logistics of how that would work. Oh, Frank does have one. Okay, maybe Scalabrini does too. So everyone's got a vote except our show. Everyone on Sirius XM. And I got to admit, the Sirius XM gig does have its benefits. Like a lot of the guys get MVP votes. We get credentialed for pretty much anything we need because we're the NBA's official radio partner, and we have the logo on our radio channel. So we get a lot of access. Oh, that's not bad. James says the 1 seed gets to pick out of the 2 play-in tournament winners. The 1 seed gets to choose who's the 7, who's the 8. I don't hate that. I would love to hear the defense's argument in a courtroom, but that would be a little spicy. Helwig says that every West team is going to strategically try to face the Rockets during the last week of the season. That's already happening. I'm not going to tell you how I know that, but teams are in the Western Conference are trying to line up on the Rockets side of the bracket. We've seen this in the past. Didn't the Clippers once upon Ty Lue talked about it publicly the last week of the season? They said we're going to try and get onto a side of the bracket that we think favors us, and playoffs are all about matchups and path, and then they ended up losing anyway. Well, they're the Clippers. They always lose. But yeah, they're definitely thinking, and the Rockets are by far the most vulnerable team of the 6 in the West. The Lakers need to do everything to make sure it's the Rockets and not the Timberwolves, because the Timberwolves are their worst matchup possible, as we saw last year. But the Rockets, the Lakers can definitely beat. know Scalabrini in the morning is trying to persuade Frank to vote for Wemby. I'm very interested to see how this MVP vote goes, because those of you that remember, you don't just like write a Survivor style. You write a name on a piece of parchment, and you drop it into an urn or a ballot box. You have to vote first, second, third, fourth, fifth. First place equals a certain amount of points. Second equals a second amount of points. And when you have so many players that will get at least one first place vote, that would be Shea, Wemby, Luka, Jokic. Let's just, for the sake of doing this, say Cade, even though he may not qualify, and then Jaylen Brown. That is 6 players. Oh, we got another update here. Hold on. Anthony Edwards could be back as soon as Saturday. I thought we were going to be reevaluated at the end of the week. He could return to action. That's good news for the Timberwolves. Bad news for the Lakers. 6 guys that could potentially get a first place vote. And let's say those first place votes are pretty evenly distributed, because there's a case for Wemby, there's a case for Luka. Then it's going to start to matter who gets the second place votes. And I have to think Shea is going to win no matter what, because even if you want Wemby, one of those people who's like, okay, Wemby's in first, then Shea's probably going to be second. And Shea will just wipe the floor with second place votes when everyone's, you know what, Luka's going to get my first place vote. Shea is definitely second. Jokic is going to get my first place vote. Shea is definitely second. Shea is almost a consensus first or second. So his weighted average is why he will win, in my opinion, almost no matter what. What has to happen for Victor Wembanyama to get MVP? The Spurs have to finish above the Oklahoma City Thunder in the standings and with the NBA's best record. And I also believe do they play one more time? Like a 5th time? They've already taken care of their business in the season series. But for Wemby to essentially run the table with the Spurs and what's going to be required, because they're 3 games back, they're going to have to win every game. And they're only going to win every game if Victor Wembanyama is putting up 35, 15, and 5. So he will have the performances to justify and validate switching that vote from Shea. But the problem is Shea checks every box already. I've come up with the MVP formula, from eye test to analytics to your definition of value is subjective. Does value mean when he comes off the floor what happens to the rest of the team, or is the rest of the team better because of his presence? Okay, doesn't matter. Shea checks those boxes. You need to have a holy shit moment, which Shea had for a straight week when he was hitting game winners over Spencer Jones, over Baylor Shireman and the Celtics. Just endless game winners from Shea, plus the 20-point streak. He is also the incumbent. He's the champ. He's the finals MVP. And to take the belt from the champ, you don't want to go to the scorecards. You got to knock him out to make it obvious. And Victor Wembanyama will have to win the Western Conference for that to be the case. Sorry, I can't pronounce your screen name. Should we expect a competitive match tonight between the Celtics and Thunder? Yeah. Oh, they're playing all their guys, and they both have a lot to play for. The Celtics are trying to hold off the Knicks in the Atlantic Division for the 2 seed, which is going to be home court in that second round. The Thunder are trying to hold on to home court in the Western Conference themselves. This will be one of the better games of the season. I gave it a 95 out of 100 fun rating for the first time in a long time. We've got a game in the 90s. Of course, the hell Wikipedia is in the chat and reminds me that it was 2021 when the Clippers were sending out Daniel Oturu to purposely tank so that they can end up on the other side of the bracket, a more favorable side of opponents that they would prefer to face. Because you hear from players all the time, home court advantage really doesn't matter that much. They would rather have a preferred opponent where their skills are going to be felt more against. In the end, the Clippers fell to the 4 seed, and they made their only Western Conference Finals ever that season. So I guess the tanking worked. And that was the year Kawhi got hurt at the beginning or before the conference finals, and it was up to Paul George. They could have represented the Western Conference that year, but Clipper shit happens sometimes. Lomax in the chat says, do you think it's likely for the Knicks to play the Hornets in the postseason? I might have missed if you talked about it already. The Knicks finish, well, the Hornets won't be able to finish as the 7 seed because they're on the 9-10 side. But if they keep winning games and they're able to pass the Magic and the Heat, then they will move up to the 7-8 side. And then if you win your first game, you become the 7 seed, which would play the 2. So I guess that would be the way. That's a lot of ifs, but that is the way for the Hornets to play the Knicks in the first round. If I'm the Knicks, I probably want to play. I know, like, Philly sucks, but if they get healthy, I do not want to play Maxey Embiid and Paul George. I'm sorry. We saw that. That series was a trench warfare bayonet fight just a couple of years ago. If I'm the Knicks, I want to play Orlando. It's at the top of my list. The Hornets probably second. Raptors for sure. Maybe even the Raptors before the Hornets. There are a lot of mediocre teams there in the East, but I would be happy with any of those 3. The Knicks are probably best. They destroy the Raptors. The Magic have no offense. Oh, we have an alert here. Dylan Harper into the starting lineup for De'Aaron Fox tonight. San Antonio on the road as 16.5-point favorites against the Taj Gibson Grizzlies. Dylan Harper going into the starting lineup, and if you're wondering about his over-under with points, 15.5. How much burn do we think Dylan Harper is going to get if this game is a blowout? Purposely losing play-in games is no, you can't do that. No. There is no maneuvering in play-in games because one is sudden death and the other is sudden death if you lose the first one. Alex is in the chat, says Adam Silver's announcement on tanking recently stating he's going to end this for next year. Chances he makes everything worse, low, very low. I know that people love to complain in comment sections on Twitter like, oh, Adam Silver ruined everything. But we're talking about a gazillion-dollar business that continues to extrapolate income, has more star power than ever, and is operating in the best interest in some of the richest people on the planet. Like, whatever decision they make is, you better believe it's going to be optimized. And the 65-game rule, for as much as Twitter likes to complain, has not been a failure. Cade Cunningham is going to be a bit of an outlier situation where a guy gets so close and falls short. But the 65-game rule has to stay in place because it was thought of for a reason. Do we remember why the 65-game rule had to be implemented in the first place? Because stars have to be on the floor for this business to be successful. And the 65-game rule, to make them eligible for all NBA, MVP, and a lot of these awards, it has to stay. You can't just start picking and choosing when there's actual legitimate injuries. Well, look at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who played almost every single game for the first half of the season, ends up sitting out towards the All-Star break with his abdominal injury, misses significant time, but can afford to because he played in the games. So my answer is no. I implore everyone to pull their heads out of the Twitter sand where people are just always looking for radical change and to tear things down. The only thing that Adam Silver has messed up recently because of Twitter pressure is when everyone was complaining about the lack of pageantry in the finals, and then he permitted ABC to put a trophy on the court which was a downloaded PNG from Google transposed onto the floor, and it looked horrible. It was even popping in front of like fans and flags that were being waved in front of the cameras. Brutal. But that's more on the production truck than like Adam Silver's mind was in the right place there. The Hornets are only 2.5 back of the 5 seed and have the 6th best net rating in the NBA. They've also been the beneficiaries of an easy schedule. Now they've got the Knicks, the Celtics, and the Sixers coming into town, last time I checked. But, I mean, the Hawks were the beneficiaries as well. That whole conference was playing the Kings, the Wizards, but the Hawks have come out the other side. A 2-game lead at this point in the season means a lot. Dylan Harper does get a lot of those minutes with the almost garbage time lineup, not like Biyombo, but the closest thing. Well, that's usually because also Harper's coming off the bench. With him starting, I do wonder if he'll be kept on the floor in a fourth quarter blowout, which feels inevitable tonight. Hulls Phillip in the chat, what's happening, says, we need your comment on the UNC coaching carousel as a fellow Tar Heel. All right. Well, first of all, can you tell me which dorm you lived in? I was a Winston in mid-campus guy before moving into the fraternity house. We had Sam Perkins on the show earlier today, and he too is like me that I would prefer to keep the Carolina head coaching job within the Carolina family. It has been this way forever. Dean Smith, Guthridge technically didn't go there, but obviously was with Carolina for a really long time. Matt Doherty, Roy Williams, Hubert Davis. I would like to stay in the family personally. So who's out there? Well, there's Wes Miller. Had some success at Greensboro. I think he got fired from Cincinnati. There is, what other Carolina guys out there coaching right now? The one that I'm ultimately going to get to, or not, I don't want to hear about Kenny Smith. Stop it. Him and his all-star parties can stay on television. The answer is Jerry Stackhouse. Oh, you were in Avery, right next door. Oh, I use the Avery laundry room all the time. What year were you there? Great dorm, by the way. Mid-campus, right next to Lenore and the library. Loved it. Jerry Stackhouse. I know it was a bit of a failure at Vanderbilt, but he was dealt 7 dues offsuit. Jerry Stackhouse is a much respected assistant coach in the NBA right now, especially in Golden State. So it's not like he's been out of the business. He's a Carolina guy. He is one mean dude, man. I love his coaching style. And if he's on that bench, you have to think Rasheed Wallace might be joining him too, which will be helping with recruiting. But ultimately, there's about 7 people. And this is the case with most college sports nowadays. There's about 7 people who are going to decide what happens with your head coach, in this case, Hubert Davis and Bill Belichick, because they're the ones writing the checks. And they'll say, we'll give you a shit ton of money if you hire this coach. So they're ultimately going to decide. And I wonder if they want to keep it within the family. I don't want to do Todd Golden or Donovan, Billy Donovan. No, thank you. Oates, I'm good on that. Stackhouse and Rasheed out there recruiting. Can you imagine? Because that's what college sports is now. It's just who's going to get the blue blood leverage of past does not exist. Kentucky, Carolina, Duke, and UCLA. I'm sorry, in Kansas. UCLA and Kansas. Those 5 would be first in line with any major recruit in the country. But now that NIL exists, if BYU is going to throw $10 million at AJ Devonsa, they're going to get him. So who can go out there and recruit? Because these guys are going to be one and done, whether that's one and done to the NBA or one and done they go into the portal and transfer elsewhere, like Elliot Cadeau in Michigan. So there's your answer. I would like Jerry Stackhouse as my next Carolina head coach, please. The original, are you serious? I'm bumping away. Jerry Stackhouse, when he throws down the reverse dunk, up and under reverse dunk in Cameron Indoor. That was one of Dickie V's first real Dickie V moments, and it was all improv. Oh, are you serious? The diaper dandy, up and under, are you serious? One of the greatest dunks in college basketball history. And wasn't that after the half-court shot went in to force overtime? Oh, what a dunk. If you're bored, if you're pooping, just load YouTube, Jerry Stackhouse, reverse dunk, Duke. And just listen to the violence of him throwing that thing down. Oh, my God. Vegan Barbie, good to see ya. I went to UNC and Oregon? No, I just support puddles. I love puddles. Philip says, class of 2021. We'll have to look into Stackhouse as a coaching hire. Was looking outside the family, but trust you. Well, I mean, I'm not the general manager. It's just a personal preference. I love Carolina keeping things within the Carolina family. There's plenty to choose from. You can also promote from within, by the way. We have Sean May. I wouldn't even consider Hubert's tenure a failure. It's more of just this is why Roy quit. Why would you want to be a head coach in college right now with all the kids going in and out every year's free agency? Unless you're trying to make a name for yourself. All of the blue blood coaches, Saban, Roy Williams, they're all quitting. Not because Roy Williams watches every single game, still loves hoops. He'd be coaching, I think, if it was still that business model where he had power. Tom Crean, I mean, seems like a good dude, but doesn't get me going. Logan says, imagine any player at a similar caliber to Brewer, Noah, and Horford. Well, that team also had Humphreys, the sharpshooter. Did they have Mike Miller? Or was that no, that was previous, sorry. Humphreys was their sharpshooter. Yeah, those guys ran it. Those guys stayed in college and ran it back after winning a national title. That would never happen nowadays. Ever, ever, ever. No, UNC should not go after Mick Cronin. Stackhouse, man. They brought Stackhouse into the Warriors so that Kerr, when I interviewed Kerr at the beginning of last season, him and Dunleavy, and I was asking him about the presence of Stackhouse in these meetings, and it's to have you can nominate a champion to go up against Draymond when practices get very intense and vocal, and he can match that same energy. Jerry Stackhouse. I'm in. Teddy Dupay. There's a name. You know ball, MCC. Doug, what's up? Says in 2023, Washington State University made the tourney. Wills went to the draft, and quite literally everyone but two players hit the portal. And one of them is Florida's starting center. Yeah. That's college sports, man. There's no more like 4-year loyalty unless the guy is a prospect, not a prospect of any kind at the next level. The perfect college team now is going to be 4 future car salesmen or accountants, but they're really good at shooting, surrounding a star player, NBA guy. And that's kind of what Carolina had this year with Caleb Wilson and why the team was so good. But when Caleb went down, those other pieces were never going to be able to replicate or replace what he does. So having a mid-major 4 guys who can stretch the floor and shoot, and then having a star that can take over in those moments, you just need shooters and defenders, 3 and D guys surrounding a star, seniors that are like 23 years old. Stackhouse used to sing the national anthem before games he played in, and I thought that was a baller move. He's a character. And I know him and Sheed still have a relationship. So Sheed lives in Durham now. And he's at a lot of those Carolina games. And he's been thinking about coaching. So you could get Sheed on that bench. Yeah, you surround the giant, athletic NBA freak like Caleb Wilson surrounded by 4 future accountants that are just good at basketball. I feel like UH does the best player development program in college. Only one transfer starts, retains guys, but not many one and dones. Yeah, that's ideal. They were also so close to winning. How long was Stack at Vandy? I'm not sure. Who do I have winning March Madness? I'm rooting for the Illini, secondarily the Huskers. I don't know enough about the teams, honestly. Vegan Barbie, but I would love to see Acuff have one of those special runs. So I'll say Arkansas. But who would I pick? I would go with, well, the Illini are the tallest team in the country. The Illini or Houston, I would think would be my picks. Arizona, I guess. Michigan, I guess. But if you're asking me, I'll take Houston. Yeah. Houston and Illinois with my vague knowledge. Entire world will be one. Yeah. So Pitino versus Duke. Do us all a favor and get Duke up out of here. It'd be nice. Carter says that Calipari had a great idea the other day. On-campus collectives can't pay a player until he plays a year for a team, then comes back the next year. None of those one-and-done prospects you would never get a DeBonsa. You would never get a Peterson. You would never get a Wilson. You'd be getting like the end of the lottery guys. Man, so many lineup alerts coming in here because we got a 12-game slate tonight. And just a reminder, people, because we're approaching the end of the regular season, I am thinking about moving this show from a pregame show to a postgame show. Pre-game show to a post-game show starting in the playoffs, because there won't be the lineups, like players being in and out, isn't nearly as volatile in the playoffs as it is during the regular season. So we'll do more reactionary stuff and look ahead to the games the next day. I think would be more appropriate and perhaps more interesting as people are looking to react to the major games that occur. Just no one gives a shit during the regular season. So pregame seems more appropriate as currently structured. Appreciate you, Benji. Says, love the Knicks recaps. We try to express our inner anguish through the majesty of song. But if I'm going to watch all these games, I might as well let it all out. The regular season is it's so low stakes that there's certain things you can take away from them. But I've just seen too much. And with Knicks fans, there's an Old Testament and a New Testament to our fan base. The Old Testament is those that were alive to see the 90s teams and know just how close we were. We think a lot differently than the New Testament Knicks fans that grew up with an irrelevant team that got Carmelo and Linsanity and was certainly known for its futility. And now that they're good, they don't share the same experience of being on the 2-yard line. So to me, nothing really matters until the Knicks get to the finals. I can still discuss it, care about it, but I'm not going to be feeling those sentiments of like, this is it, until they're at the absolute doorstep. Chat, yeah, the chat's always flying for post-game shows more than pre-game shows. So people got, if some shit happens with LeBron and Luka, people are, you want to capture the emotion of the moment. So, well, it's just like no one's going to do that for regular season shit. But yeah, that's the plans, especially since I don't have to do them on Sirius XM this year. That I had that time available to switch this show to be a post-game show. Benji says, I've been to 114 of the previous 135 Knicks home games. My God. That's pretty fucking impressive. What happened in those 21 games that you missed? Gotta have season tickets. Ayo Dosunmu out for the Wolves tonight, just dropped with a calf injury. That's your second nationally televised game between the Wolves and the Rockets. Sorry, let me catch up on these. How much longer do you think a guy like Izzo stays with all the transfer and NIL stuff? I can't imagine that they enjoy their gigs compared to what it was pre-NIL. It makes coaching so much more difficult when a kid is like, don't talk to me like that. I'm getting paid and I'm leaving at the end of the year. I don't give a shit. Like that. That's the business of basketball right now. Perhaps a roulette of post-game talk. Well, the shows are going to be this type of format. So it's going to be chat only as opposed to when we used to let in calls and stuff. I guess I can always load that up. I can load up like a Spaces or something, but I may reserve that for only when. I don't know if you can't do a Spaces and a video stream at the same time. So at the very least, it's going to just look like this. Why is everyone talking about Mac McClung in the chat? What did Mac McClung do to deserve? He's closer to 30 than 24. He belongs in a rec league. What's going on in that chat? Wolves guy. Did you guys know that Wolves guy once called in to Sirius XM? He used to call into the post-game show. And then he tried to call in once in the daytime show. Let's talk Wolves. No, Wolves guy. Where was his brain? Did he hate the Wolves? Did he love the Wolves? He was so confusing. Was he a troll? I couldn't tell. He hated Cat. He thought Cat was soft. That is certainly not the case. This version of Cat that's been aggressive, he has been, I'll say it. I said it once and I'll say it again. Jalen Brunson is the Knicks' floor, but Cat is the Knicks' ceiling. The Knicks cannot win a championship without Karl Anthony Towns playing like the way he's been. It's just his mere presence when he's doing this kind of shit and getting aggressive, how that opens up the rest of the floor for Jalen Brunson is just so noticeable. So needed, too. I also had a psychotic Sacramento fan always in the chat. That makes sense. Vegan Barbie says, I watched Kyle Anderson highlights earlier and I almost threw up. He is not aesthetically pleasing. He had this bucket the other night where he did a slow motion in and out dribble, almost like a crab dribble, but we'll call it in and out dribble. Slow motion with his left hand, in, out, in, out, in, out. And then he just stopped and he just put shot some bullshit from like 7 feet away and it went in. And the defender was like, what the fuck was that? Oh, of course Hellwick saw it. Okay, so I wasn't the only one. In, out, in, out. What are you doing? That fooled nobody. It only fooled yourself. Sack Kings on top. Why is the league changing tanking as soon as the Kings are about to get a good pick? If there's anyone that we can sacrifice to changing the rules and all the old ones are now null and void, we're willing. If there's one fan base that we are willing and able to allow to be mad, it's Sacramento. You are at the mercy of Adam Silver as Vivek stands courtside, going nuts every time the Kings win a game, 50 games under 500. At least I got to give him a little credit because he cares so much. He's present and he wants the best for the team, but man, does he run a shitty business. How did he make all his money in the first place? He win the lottery or something? They messed. They had one of the coolest teams, one of the best stories in sports. They were shooting beams into the sky. What did they do to mess that up? They were a 3 seed in a stacked Western Conference, and then they just kingsed it. It started with the DeRozan, then the Levine trade. Ugh. 2 players I do not want, either because of the size of their contract or their style in 2026. Like DeRozan, unfortunately, a need for that type of player. He's going to be Cam Thomas here shortly. At least Jordan Clarkson has reinvented himself a bit. They fired Mike Brown. Right. They fired Mike Brown before they got on the plane because Mike Brown got upset that De'Aaron Fox fell asleep against the Detroit. I don't know why I remember this game. Pistons Kings. Only Hellwick will be able to, for some reason, be able to fact check me on this. Pistons Kings. Jaden Ivey hits a 4-point play out of the corner because De'Aaron Fox fell asleep on a strong side help assignment, and then he recklessly closed out. The Kings lose a game they had no business losing. Mike Brown gets fired. Everyone thought it was De'Aaron's. He was the one who got Mike Brown fired for those post-game comments where he said These players have to be able to retain instruction, and De'Aaron Fox did not. So then the locker room's in turmoil. Vivek steps in and starts becoming the general manager, which always results in Nick Stauskas, and then so on and so forth. All roads, yes, lead back to Vivek. At least we're tanking ethically. What does that mean? These franchises have figured out the best way to tank is to go to your players and their representation and suggest to them that they should get their procedures done now during the season, because everyone gets their knee drained for fluid, or they have an ankle injury that they need like some minor surgery on that you rarely ever hear about, like a broken bone in their face. Go get that surgery now, as opposed to when the regular season ends, because if you get it now, we have justification in tanking and not being able to play you versus doing what like the Utah Jazz have to, saying everybody's sick all the time. Detroit, Sacramento was the day after. How do you know this shit, Helwick? Detroit, Sacramento was the day after Christmas 2024, one of the biggest regular season nights I can remember. So there was more that happened that night. Okay. Still, yeah. I don't, you need to find a way to monetize your brain and the data that's inside of it and turn it into like, before AI just erases the need for brilliant minds like yourself. Find a way, whether that's going on Jeopardy, Sports Jeopardy, I don't know. But you know everything. I'm watching, I can't remember half the shit that you do, and I watch every damn game, every dribble of every damn game. And here we go in the chat. E. Barriento says, I have tickets for Friday's Warriors game, and I'm tripping because of how much I've spent. You probably assumed Steph Curry was going to play. Welcome to the world of NBA fans getting rug pulled. I'm sure you'll watch. I can't believe baseball started. Are you kidding me? It's way too early for that bullshit. And I don't even have Netflix, so no, I will not be watching that. Oh shit, the game's tipped off. I didn't even realize what time it was. 4:16 p.m. local means we got games on. So I need to depart from today's episode, but I appreciate all of you coming in to hang out as usual. We'll be back same time on Friday. And if you haven't already, consider ProfitX for all of your sports investing needs. No, Helwick is not a Price is Right guy. Helwick is a Jeopardy guy. Price is Right, you gotta be loud, obnoxious, and like, honestly, kind of stupid is what they're looking for. Trying to create viral clips from those type of extreme reactions. It's not a knowledge-based show. GG's in the chat. Yeah, I'm sorry, Barrientos. I hope you still enjoy the game, but yeah, even soccer, you know in advance that guys are not going to play, and they have rosters that can show up for some of the smaller tournaments that still make it worth paying all that money for. But not in the NBA, they don't. I'm out of here, folks. It's been a pleasure, and I will see you on the timeline. If I can figure out how to, does it not put a banner at the top anymore? That's crazy. They don't, before I sign off, they don't even put a banner at the top of Twitter timelines for live video anymore. They used to do that. Anybody notice that? Because I'm in the app right now, and I don't see it. Oh, there it is. It took a while to populate on For You. You still have the Elon. Wait. Logan says, I still have the banner. Is it under For You, Logan, or following? It's only on For You for me. I wish it was on following. It's not on following. It's only For You. That's unfortunate, but that's going to cut my audience size down for sure. All right. On that note, I'm out of here, folks. Thanks again. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.